It's that time of the week again. It's Parenting with the Father live. And so while we're here, we're waiting for others to start coming in. As usual, Instagram will be letting you know that I'm here waiting for you while we also get our guests ready to go. So, how's your Friday going? Or how's your Monday going? See me say our guest is quite, it's early today. We trust her to, know, do justice to this. Her name is Adejumoke Ajala, and we'll be introducing her formally very soon. Hi there, how are you doing?
I'm good. Good evening. How you doing
Good
too?
evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
So as usual,
So,
we won't disclose your full details right now. We'll wait
uh,
for some of our guests to join us. Hello, Felix. Nice to have you on board. And when we have a few guests, we'll give them maybe 2-3 minutes, and then we'll take it from there. Meanwhile, we're going to also talk a little about this book, which is also the title of the series. It's called Parenting with the Father. And today's topic is It Takes a Village. It takes a village. And truthfully, if you're a parent and you don't understand that it takes a village to raise your children, please, I want to even know how you're able to survive and how you're alive and well. Because really, we all need community. We all need people in our corners to be able to, rejoice with us, to be able to um, you know, share those tough times, or even just from a logistics point of view, we need people to just be able to be in our corner for those unplanned moments. And while we're waiting for our guests to come in, but Felix, go grab your friends, those who are parents, those who are parents in waiting, because sometimes when we say this thing is parenting, people assume that, oh, I don't have children, so I don't need to listen. But trust me, there are so many things we discuss in these our groups, in this our community that we wish we knew before we were parents, so that we come ready and prepared, to slay and to do the wonderful things that we needed to do as parents. But we're strong, we learn on the go. Parenting is one of those things that you are expected to excel at as you're learning. I'm sure, Jumoke, you will agree with me.
I totally agree. Completely. Completely.
Okay, so let's do this, right? Let me read from the book, as usual, as is our practice, and then we will just start. And those, because remember, we're also recording this on our YouTube page. So for those who don't know, we have a YouTube page. It's called Godly Parenting. You can catch the replays of previous sessions there. And so for those who are recording, for the benefits of those who are going to watch the recording, we're just going to dive into it. We don't believe in being very tardy. Hello, Daffodil Siam. That's a very nice name. Hello, Amaka. Nice to have you guys here. And so we start formally. Welcome to the Parenting with the Father Instagram Live program. And this is an offshoot of the Godly Parenting program. So, Godly Parenting Summit is an annual summit that will be taking place on the 27th of April every Saturday by 4:30 p.m. WAT, that's West African time. So for those of you in the diaspora, I'm sure you could figure out how that translates. No sound. Perhaps you want to check your network. If there's anybody having sound issues, let me know if you can hear us all. So Godly Parenting is a group of parents, for parents, by parents, where we come to bring back that community, bring that community feeling back into parenting. With the advent of technology, with the advent of busy lives, 21st century challenges, many of us have, lost that sense of community, and it's so vital to parenting. And so to be able to address that, we decided as to come together as parents and just discuss generally. So sometimes we'll bring in experts, but more often than not, it will just be parents speaking from experiences, discussing their challenges, and we'll continue. Now, one of the offshoots of the godly parenting community was me writing this book called Parenting with the Father. And it's a book of 30 prayers. And so you have a prayer, and then you have a guide, and it's just 2 minutes and you're done. And today's topic comes from that book. It's called It Takes a Village. So before we dive in, I'm just going to read the prayer and the guide, and then I'm going to let my lovely guest, Mrs. Adejumoke Ajala, take us on. She's going to take us on that topic and elaborate. So it takes a village. Dear Father, you created man to be fruitful and multiply. You also created us to interact with and support each other. I thank you for all the help and support you sent my way in this parenting journey, and I trust you will send more in the future. I ask you to please surround my children with friends and parents who will help and support them and lead them and not lead them astray. Help me to recognize how I can support others in their parenting journey so that together we may raise a community of wonderful and blessed children. Amen. And the anchor verse is in the same way, though we are many, we are one body in union with Christ, and we are all joined to each other as different parts of one body. And now to the guide. And these are things that are meant to be quick, so it's not going to take much of your time. Dear parents, it is important to realize that we cannot do it all alone. There are situations we cannot avoid or those beyond our control. In some cases, we reach out for help simply because it's better to do things with company. Parents need to be deliberate about identifying and cultivating a support system for their family. We need to remember that support is a two-way street. Let's offer support when we can without waiting to be asked. However, we must respect the needs of the person we are aiding and reserve any judgment we may have. Lend a hand gracefully and joyfully. By giving and receiving help with grace, we also teach our children how to give and receive help gracefully. Points to ponder. Do you have a person you can rely on if needed? Are you someone who can be relied upon by others? When last did you offer help? Just speak up. And so we open the floor to our dear Jay Jala. I love that name, by the way. Mrs. Adejumoke Ajala. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Evie. And thank you for inviting me. And welcome everyone. This is just gonna be an interesting time as parents. We're just gonna talk about parenting in the village. Okay. And the truthful part of it is that the main aim when they say you bring up children in the village, it's actually a proverb in, I know the Igbo language people, I'm sure Igbos will say they are the ones that got the proverb, but I also say Yoruba people, they're also the ones that got the proverb. It's actually an African proverb generally. And generally in those days, it used to be, everybody used to live together in this like a big house. And then you have all the children are being taken care of by everyone in the family. So whether it's your mother, your auntie, your sister, your brother, everybody is there ensuring that you are a proper child, you are healthy, you are good, and you are sound. So generally, if you ask what is really a village is generally a community of people who can provide like a safe and healthy environment for your children to grow. And that is so needed now. Bringing up children in an isolated way is not helpful. It's not even wholesome for the child itself, him or her. So it's important that you do have support systems that can assist you in bringing up your children. Generally in Nigeria those days, on your street, on your estate, everybody is your parent. Okay? Everybody is your parent. So if you misbehave, what did you say?
That I have stories for days.
You should, I'm sure. I'm sure anyone in this gen, what have you said? Whatever. At least you can indeed say that you had many aunties and uncles. I don't think you understood the definition of auntie and uncle at that time. At that time, auntie, uncle, mother, grandmother was every woman, every man. I could correct you. And so we all grew up wholesome because If your neighbor finds out that you did something wrong, they will either report to your mother or they will just drag your ears so that you remember very well. So yes, it gave everybody a healthy environment. Now we ask ourselves, and it's an environment, it's an environment where a child can grow up and learn. Now I ask people right now in this day and age, because of insecurities, because of fear of kidnapping, because of so many other reasons, pedophiles and all, people are now so fearful to allow their children to go out, more fearful to even allow their children to mate. So it's important, and the fears are understandable. So it's important that you build a network of people, a community where your children can grow up healthily. For example, it could be like a dance class. You can have a group of people who will go to maybe like a dance class, swimming classes, music classes. They're going to be able to socialize and meet with other people. I do like communities that have like playground or something like that, so the children can go around, and then parents can go there also, and then you're also able to guide other young children that are your children. So that also helps. But also, even a school is a community, and each one helps. A school that is grounded and are very grounded in in nurturing children is also a community. I know that the school my children go to, because they understand that parents actually work till late, they are able to give you such facilities to ensure that their children are taken care of. They are healthy, they are fine, they can play, they can study, and they can learn at the same time. Because they understand that the parent is busy at that time. So after work, it's easier for me to go and pick up my kids. I'm more assured that my children will be doing very well. So the number one thing you need to do when you're looking for one, you need to look for the right environment. I know a friend of mine told me recently, I sent a picture of my children playing with their cousins and all that. And she's based in the US. And she said something. She said, "Oh, she misses that." And I said, "What do you miss?" She said she misses the community. She misses the fact that she could, have, the children can come together and, discuss and play and bond. And I said, well, you can also create a community. But, because you don't have all those people around, it almost seems as if it's tough. But then you can look for people who have similar mindsets with you and decide to form a community. Because number one thing you need to do is to have a right community. If you have the right environment, the right thinking people, then it's easier for you to actually leave your children with them. You are comfortable, you are happy, you know that nothing is going to go wrong. And it helps children balance their attitude, their behavior. I'll give you an example. I couldn't pick up my children early one day. And so I called a friend, one of the practitioners, and said, please pick up my children. And she did. And then she took care of the kids at that point in time. And then she did something. I was there, we had there, and she scolded my child, scolded her child, corrected them. And I left it because I knew it was a good cause. Okay? Exactly. Sometimes parents are very careful about, they don't want other parents or other family to talk to their children. But I say no, because the truthful part of it is that if you're comfortable enough for them to take care of your children and you believe they have the right mindset and the right principles, then you should understand that it is time for another adult who has the child's interest at heart to be able to correct, not say spank, I said correct the child. So it's important, and most times you see that extended families are very helpful. It's going to be a major injustice for me if I have my nieces and nephews around the house and I'm unable to speak to them when they do something wrong. Because at the end of the day, it'll be a tough thing, truly, Yeah. At the end of the day, if the child gets spoiled or is of a bad behavior, you'll be surprised that it would affect you because you're a relative, So whatever, as extended family, whatever we can do to offer help, You can offer help to your sister, to your sister-in-law, to your cousins, anyone that you can actually see that actually requires the break. I sometimes do it with my nieces and nephews, and I just call and I say, I'm sure you guys need a break. Allow them come for like a day or two. And that helps them. And also, it also helps the children to have a sense of belonging, okay? Not just from their parents, but also with the extended family and friends that they belong to, okay? So this sense of belonging is something that is also very good for the parent and also for the child. The child can play with other people. My first daughter loves to play with others because she's the first child in the house. So when she has older cousins and everybody around, she feels like, oh, I'm the younger one. So does not feel as if she's always the
I know that feeling.
responsible child.
I'm the first
Thank
one,
you.
so I know that feeling.
I realized that when the older cousins are around, you so loved it. You know, at least I'm not the first. I'm not the first this time. I don't have to act like the responsible child.
Yes, and all the responsibility doesn't have to sit on my shoulders. It's like a breather for firstborns, for the older kids when they are around older people, because they get to be children again. They get to be able to just take a break from responsibility. And really, anyone who's listening and saying, what do you mean by take a break from responsibility? They have to be responsible. But the fact is that they are children first and foremost before anything else. And so when we say take a break from responsibility, they need time to be children, just children, nothing else, And I really love all the points you brought up. It reminds me of a lot of things that I experienced when I was growing up. I'm a first child. In fact, funny enough, people that know me say, I say this all the time. I'm first grandchild on two sides. So it was a bit lonely for a while. The people I'm closest to are actually my mother's cousins, the younger generation of my mother's, family. Those are the people I call, brothers and sisters, because I'm older than everybody else. So I look up to my cousins, and the youngest person in that generation was about 9 years older than I was. And so I really felt the benefit of community growing up in a neighborhood where there were a lot of people on the streets. When you mentioned, people how adults would get to, scold you. I lived in a street that had 16 houses. God help you if you commit crime. Before you get to your house, all the different parents have had things to say. And without even GSM phone, somehow your parents will hear what you've done before you get home. So they're waiting for you, ready and waiting. And you see, we felt it as the children. All these parents. But guess what? I'm a parent now. And being a parent who has that resource, that I know that my child is safe in the streets when they are playing. I know that when my child does something, there are people I trust to be able to give them the good moral upbringing. Can you imagine the kind of relief our parents used to enjoy, knowing that our children are okay, they are with good people? And so imagine the mental toll, the emotional burdens that parents carry in this era, where in most cases you don't even know your neighbor, or you don't even trust your neighbor, talk less of letting your children play outside. So when does the parent have a mental break? When does the parent have that feeling of security? When does the parent know that my child will be okay, I'm not there? So imagine the emotional baggage that the average 21st century parent is carrying just because our sense of community is dwindling. In some places, it's non-existent. And so for me, I think what I always preach to others is, even if you've enjoyed sense of community in this era as a parent, extend the same grace to other people. So what does that look like? I have 2 boys, 2 girls. I have a lot of friends who have only boys. I have friends who have only girls. My house is a melting pot for anybody that knows me. My house is buzzing most weekends and most holidays. On any given weekend, you have an average of about 10 children running up and down somewhere in my house. On any given weekend, most holidays. As I speak to you right now, I have 7 in my house. And the thing
I
is,
officially have 4.
Yes, I officially have 4. So at any time, my sister lives in my estate. So most times I think in sevens because she has 3 boys. So
Wow.
my start off is 7. Then you can now layer the neighbors' children, my friends' children, cousins, and all of that. And so the question is, are you a village to somebody? That's the question. Because you see, you can expect to have a village, right? But I think it starts from you even being a village. And for me, because I have that, every friend who comes to my house at any point in time know that if I'm stuck, my children too can go. My daughters
Yeah.
go to school opposite my very close friend's house. So when chips are down, she will just go and pick them and they will be in her house till whenever we can get to them. That's
Mm,
community. It doesn't
that's
have to
community.
be community the way our parents enjoyed it. This is 21st century. There's a lot of distance. There's a
Yes.
lot of tech. There's a lot of, and speaking of tech, you can even have your tech community, which is what our godly parenting is. You know,
Yes.
if you have people who are bonded through that community, they reach out to each other in private. We sit down. If you have something you want to share, you share. If you don't want to share it, you know,
Yeah.
yes. And
Because
if
I
you don't
remember
want to,
that I had a challenge. Sorry, I just want
yeah,
to add
go
on that.
ahead.
I had a challenge with one of my kids, and I mentioned it on the group, and we had a discussion, and
Hmm.
it was good. It was a very insightful thing, and I went to my child, we discussed it, and that was, so it's a
Yeah.
learning village. It's a learning village.
It's a learning village. And I pray that we're able to do that with everyone around, If you have people around you, you see a mother, a father, connect. But especially I like when we're able to connect. You mentioned schools. We underestimate the impact schools make on our children. We think that, okay, once we drop them in school, the teachers have them to further notice. I'm busy. I have to end the school fees. But the fact is, your children are there for so long, interacting with children from other backgrounds. So no matter how well you raise your children, right? Um, okay, Chinelo, I see you. You will join us shortly. This is one of our very special guests. She will join us in this conversation because she's a very experienced mommy. So no matter you raise your kids, children's well-being is the foundation of right how the community they are in. Right?
If you've
So
gone off a bit, okay,
yes, sorry,
okay,
can you hear me now?
yes, good.
Okay, sorry about that. So if your children are in a community where the other children are not doing great, it's going to make your own work harder. It's going to rub off on your children. One thing
Definitely.
that we even do in my home is every year, my birthdays are important in our house. And we tell our children, you're allowed to bring a certain number of friends home to just celebrate or mark your day. We keep that number not very large so that it forces the children to sit down and say, okay, who do I really want to spend the day with? And what we do as parents, my husband and I, what we do is when we see that this person has come for this one, our child has gone for that, and we are seeing 1 or 2 faces consistently, we make it a point of duty to find a way to get to know the parents. It's either the
Okay.
next event we have in our house, we say, parents, you can come home. And then that way, while the children are bonding, we, the parents, are bonding. And so we met wonderful families through our children. We become very good family friends through our children's friendships. And the fact of the matter is, we now have community across different, ages, different brackets. And so, parents, be mindful of who your children are interacting with. When somebody is occurring consistently in your children's lives, in their events, in their play dates, you really want to get to know who the parents are so that you're even, first of all, sure whether you should encourage that friendship or not, whether those parents have like values. By the
Mm.
time you have some conversations, you will know the kind of things that the parents are interested in. And then you would know whether you should begin to encourage those friendships. And of course, by the time your children are teenagers in secondary school, they are building some very strategic and lifelong friends. So if you don't shape the way those friendships come up, it means that your adult children are going to have some very interesting friends that you are not you are going to be having headache about. That by the time they are in their 30s, that's not the time to be praying away a friend that they made in their teenage years. That friend is not going anywhere.
So Oh,
Yeah.
and
So
those friendships can actually make you or even mar you. So you have to be careful.
exactly. So I'll let you keep talking, and while you're talking, I'll bring in Chinelo because I see she
Okay.
requested to join this live,
Okay.
and then we'll continue. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Another thing I wanted to say about bringing up children, the village way, as I call it, generally, is the fact that if the families
I
can
love
come together
that.
from time to time, if you have families coming together from time to time, you are actually building a positive relationship in your child. You're building positive relationships with your
Exactly.
children. Then, apart from the fact that there will be a bonding time, apart from the fact that there will be a bonding time, there will also be times where they will be able to speak to the other children, relate with the other children and the other family members around, and not just family
Exactly.
members, friends, because
Mm-hmm.
you find out that there are some things you as a parent do not know that another person knows. Okay,
Yep.
that's if you're not there to open up or to share or to ask questions, you'll find out that you might just die in silence. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you know how people say
Mm-hmm.
if you keep quiet, the world will keep quiet with you. So it's important
Yep.
that you have a community to be able to do that. With that, you're going to build positive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes those relationships are for life. I remember the friends we had on our
Yeah.
street when I was much younger. Those guys and ladies, till today, we are all still friends. We're all still good friends. And we all grew up in
Exactly.
that way because of the way we acted
Mm-hmm.
towards each other and our
Mm-hmm.
parents acted towards us. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the parents treated us as their children. And so as often as we can, just like what Ify said, we should also try to be there as a community to another set of people.
Mm.
I know family friends of mine in the US. So what they do, they ensure that they have a group or a community of people from church or
Mm.
and from school. You know that the children are, either they have similar principles, and so from school they ensure that their friends during
Okay.
their birthdays and things like that, they're all around together. So that really helps also. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, let's hear
Mhm.
from Chinelo. So Chinelo Ujubono is one of our guest coaches in the Godly Parenting community. She's a mom of 6 children. She's been married for 27 years. Remind me if I'm right. And so I always love to hear her speak whenever she gives, to just grace us with one or two pearls of wisdom. Hi, Chinelo. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ify. Good evening, our dear sister.
Jumoke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hi, Jumoke.
okay.
Hi,
Yeah,
Jumoke. Good
yeah.
evening.
I've been listening to both of you, and I didn't know I requested to join at that. I don't know what I was pressing. Sometimes
The
this
Holy Spirit wanted
whole,
us to hear your voice today.
this
So
whole thing just wows me. Well, all that you said is true. I was almost giggling when if you said commit a time before you go home. Your parents have heard. You lived on the house of 16. My kids grew up in a close of 14,
Mm.
and every child in that compound was a family. I just want us to know that we should stop suspecting each other.
mm,
Mm.
Sometimes we suspect the neighbor who is as innocent as a lamb, and
Mhm.
just with aren't on talking terms. We don't even greet each other.
Mhm.
All manner of
yes.
come.
Mhm.
I remember when because when my kids were young, I took a job that allowed me to stay to resume late and close early. You know,
Mm.
the whole idea was to be able to take my children to school and come back with them. And in doing that, I had the opportunity to see children whose parents will leave. That was in Lagos, whose parents will leave quite early, leave the children to the nannies or whoever is at home. And you see the children with shoes not polished, uniforms not ironed, and all that. So I took interest in those children within the close well. I noticed that if you're friendly with one of the parents, it's easier to talk to that other parent, So what I did was find a parent who is more agreeable, who may want to listen, and then speak to the parent about the condition of that child. So the whole idea of it takes a village. I grew up in the midst of aunties and uncles because my mother, probably like Ify, attracted every Tom, Dick, and Harry into my father's house. And we grew up with all sorts of people, And I was, in fact, if you and I have similar thing, I'm the first grandchild of both sides of the family, of my parents. And first granddaughter, let me put it, because I have a senior, this boy, but first granddaughter. And you were the little one, and everybody was sending you on errand. In the deepest part of my mind, I abused every one of them. I didn't like the fact that yes, I did. In the first part of they've never heard me voice
I can so relate.
So, but growing up, all those people are like pearls to me because they actually really I think, and sometimes when you look at the comments your friends make about you, especially on your birthdays, and these comments will majorly come from your secondary school because that's where true friendships are made. Like both of you rightly said. At that age, you are not forming for anybody. No pretenses, no packaging. It's in the university that from primary to secondary school. And most times your secondary school friends are the ones that you have friends for life. Very few times you get those except if your primary school friends went to the same secondary school with you, they continue to be, or they may not. And because of that, when if you say she has like 7, 8, there was a time I had about 20 children every weekend in my house. Not because I was running a daycare center, but because
your home is a heaven.
People found it easy to drop their children with me, and these days when I ask after this child, they say, oh, he's in the university, oh, he's here, oh, he has graduated, and I'm like, I must be very old for all these children to be where they are, all their milestones. But what am I trying to say? And because of this, my name, if I have to translate it literally, it means the more the merrier. So, husband's family are more
very true, actually.
They are more and merry, and because that's before the unrest in the southeast, everybody came home for Christmas. You can imagine that sort of adventure for children. In fact, there was a time the children said they wanted to go on an expedition in their hometown. People from all over, including outside Nigeria. They were planning that particular Christmas, but that Christmas came, but it never happened the way because we couldn't go home because of the unrest at that period. My second son is about 20-something, 324, I think. I'm just trying not to get them because I have them so closely, so I don't want to get them. I just started, he started a family tree on his own. And I asked him, and he said, because we're many, we need to know ourselves. And that's why when people begin to this divide and rule, go here, go there, yes, you have to be conscious of where your children put their legs. But when it comes to cousins, you also have to. And sometimes I've noticed if your children have the right values, and these cousins that people may have tweeted is this and that, come into your home, the positive energy within your home will make that child sober. I've observed it. Will sober that child such that the child would come would want to always come to your house, not because it's fantastic, but because there is an energy and the child can't explain, and you begin to see that child wanting to tap on that positive energy. Because
That's true.
in my family, we don't encourage criticism. Even when you have heard all manner of things about this particular person, you're mute, we observe, and the children observe. And sometimes when the person is gone, we say, oh, we didn't notice all those things they were saying about this person. I zip my mouth because any comment may go south. So you just keep quiet, let them keep observing. But when these children have the right value, they want them, and when they notice that these people who may have funny character and do not want to sink into their own, they keep away naturally.
Yeah.
Because when you ask them, well, why is this person not visiting as much, as say, mommy, we can't deal with it. So you don't know what, especially when you're dealing with adult children. But when they're younger, you guide them. But again, keep the options open so that the children will choose, will begin to learn how to choose. But if you're constantly telling them what to do and what to do in some certain aspects of life, they can't differentiate. They will always depend on you. And that's what I call the helicoptering thing. Because we're all over the place, the children can't decide, they can't make their mistakes and all that. You see the beauty of what we have experienced. Like somebody was trying to say, Auntie Chino, we're not on Facebook, or Facebook is for the bloomers, baby boomers. And I was like, okay, I understand. But you can see that because they have been categorized, and the person was trying to say, I'm not a Gen Z, I'm a millennial. You know, they know where they belong to. The whole idea is to help these children understand, accept, and we as parents, not to judge people in the presence of our children.
Exactly.
Because your neighbor might be a lamb, but somebody has painted the person as a wolf, and you're missing on that particular person. While my children were growing up, kids were taking care of a Muslim grandma, and because her daughter was a friend, and I occasionally go to their house, my kids visit because they have a big grounds behind their house, so the children had space to play. So my kids loved going there, and they were playing. Then there was this particular day, I had no maid that period, so I was forced to tell my friend, please, can I leave my children at home while I go to work and come back? And she said, oh, no problem, I'll tell my mom. The following day, I packaged all breakfast, lunch, snacks, and brought to the house, added extra to the children, shared with grandma's grandchildren and all that. First day, second day, third day, the next time I came to pick up my children, I saw mother and daughter talking. I knew they were talking about me, but my fear was, I hope my kids haven't committed, you know. So I was afraid of what my children would have done for them to be talking that way. And when they had finished, the girl said, Grandma, Alaja wants to talk to you. So I was scared. And the next thing Elijah now looked at me and said, my Peking, what have I done to you? And I was like, nothing, man. I was wondering, where did I go wrong? Did I offend this woman at a point and then didn't go? She said, why are you always bringing food? Why is it I cannot feed my children? And I was like,
we are denying her the pleasure of feeding her children.
And yeah, I am. It's an offense. And that was the last time I gave my children any food pack to take to their house.
Yeah.
You know, this is a family. They're not Christians. They're not Igbos. I'm an Igbo woman, Muslims and Yorubas, you know, and my kids and them grew up. Not to talk of the neighbor. Like the one of the parents called me the other day, said, it's been long, and my son has been trying to get to his age mate amongst my children, can't find his number. Could you send the number to me? And this family is fantastic, you know, but you need to see what people have said about this family until I got to them and found that these people just like to mind their business. The problem is that they had a lot of cats in their house. I personally do not like cats. So a lot of people, you know what people think about cats, you know. So that was a stereotype for them, and they didn't care. So we need in It Takes a Village. It's a book written by what's her name?
Yeah.
It's written by Clinton, you know, Clinton's wife. I'm trying to remember Clinton's wife's name.
Hillary Clinton. Hillary.
Yes.
Okay,
Hillary Clinton. She has a book titled "Takes a Village." Something we need to make. If the white people are thinking back on having a community of like minds to grow and help their people, they had a lady who felt she was high and mighty and spoke to no one. One day she was driving out, not knowing her son was running after her, behind her. And the nanny there was perturbed about the child. So this child, you know, the car driving is faster than the child running. Somebody within that close saw that child, knew that this child is from this close, but couldn't place whose child it was, you know. And then they took her to Alaja's house. That's the same Alaja I was talking about. And Alaja said, I don't know, but let's wait for Mama Arinze. But when she comes, Mama Arinze is me. She will tell us who this child is. I didn't know the child. It was somebody else who came and identified this child, because I've never seen the child before. So we traced this child to that lady's house and knocked until the nanny came and opened the gate and took in the child. So that, you can imagine, that child would have wandered away.
Wow.
And nobody would have found him. If not for that particular neighbor who said this child, you know, I don't know, for whatever reason, said this child belongs to this close, and brought the child to the close. So we had a meeting, and the onions fell on me that I was the one who's going to tell the family what happened, because we knew that the house girl wasn't going to tell them. So I knocked on the gate, and the husband came out. I told the husband what it was, and the husband was speechless. Called the girl. The wife had taken the children to school. Called the girl, and the girl confirmed the story. The next thing, you can imagine, the lady who never speaks to anybody, gives everybody an attitude in our clothes, came to Alaja's house, because I told them the child was in Alaja's house, and Alaja was there, the daughter was there, and she came in and hugged Alaja and the daughter, and the daughter was saying, she hugged me. That's surprised that this woman can actually hug somebody. You know, it was something that I never forget. She hugged me, and I was looking, I said, yes, she hugged me. You know, she came to my house, because I wasn't in Alaja's house, to come and say thank you. What am I saying? Because if people didn't care, when that child, they'll be that child. That child.
If people behave the way she behaved.
Yes, no matter what, tell people, I'd rather be abused than let a child go south. Because I know there are parents who don't want to hear that their children have done something bad. I had an experience where I had told somebody, a mother of the daughter comes, both parents leave early, the daughter comes not alone, but with about 2 or 3 boys. If it was girls, I won't have my, but seeing boys, you know, I said, and one day the lady was driving out. I said, please, ma, please, oh, this is what I observed. My husband said, can't you keep quiet, your mouth shut for a moment? I said, no. If this girl gets pregnant, you and I will forever regret we never spoke out. Please let me speak now and forever hold my peace. And we told the woman, before I knew what was happening, the best solution this parents had for this child was to whisk her off to another town to stay with an auntie. And it's too easy for your own child. So the best solution is peace. Because when I asked her, I will send her to XYZ town to stay with my sister. So all those people she won't be sick. She will cultivate that habit
in that other
Exactly. Exactly. And in that situation, there'll be no Chinelo to look out and say, this is what she's doing.
And
the auntie will be overwhelmed by it because she might not even be sure how best to handle the situation, being that she's an auntie, you know?
Yeah. The child wanted attention. The child just wanted attention. I thought it just lacked attention. And instead of helping, they just pushed her away the more.
And you have even pushed her away. So the attention she's seeking, you have responded by pushing her away. And if such a child goes into depression, is feeling unloved, you say, but I pay all their school fees. They will come on Instagram in 10, 20 years and say, children of this generation, they don't have my time. I sweated, I suffered, I did this. But the child doesn't need all the things you are sweating to give them. They just need you.
They need you.
The child needs you. You are the priority for any child. Every child in this world was born to crave the attention of their parents. It's a default setting. When you see children who don't crave the attention of their parents, check, something has gone wrong somewhere. Either there has been a trauma or the child has an emotional, I don't want to call it default. Maybe there's something that in the course of even as a baby, they didn't receive a certain kind of love, right? So the child did not grew up with a certain kind of detachment, which the parents is still on the parents to replace. So children by default, they crave us. By default, children are kind. By default, children are simple. By default, children want to love and be loved. Anything you see contrary in any child, look at how that child was raised. Look at the community the child was raised in. Look at the parenting style, the society, the culture. It will tell you a lot. And with that, I want to appeal to our current crop of new parents, our millennial parents, and our Gen Z parents too, because Gen Zs are beginning to have children. And I don't want to paint you because I try to stay away from generalizations that people were born from a certain age. By default, I'm actually a millennial. I'm the first set of millennials. But I tell people I'm an old soul. I'm probably even a baby boomer in spirit, not even Gen X, So I'm an outlier. But I want to say something. I know life is tough for you as individuals. I know that you are the children who were raised by parents who grew up in fear, who were under pressure, who, were trying to do so much to change the way they were raised and to live vicariously through you. I know, I get it. And I know that by default, you are rebelling against that because it was choking you. But I want to appeal to you today. The baby you have today, the toddler you have today, the children you have today had no part to play in that dynamic between you and your parents. So please, they have no business in you now trying to repair whatever wrongs your parents did to you through them. The children you have today are
and you will
going to be the best blessings you will ever have in your life. No job, no social media, no whatever is going to equate to them. They can either be your greatest blessings or your worst nightmare. The choice is yours. So I want to use this opportunity to ask my newer generation parents. I'm not saying it's easy. I know, I understand. I've seen a lot. I've met with a lot of you in this era. The times are hard. The pressure is hard. It is why some of us are bent on providing communities, especially virtually, so that we can reach a lot of people. If you need help, ask for help. If you need where to cry, cry. If you need where to vent, I have a group of friends. Sometimes when our head is full, all we just say rant time, and then we just start talking. So that once they are reading the message, they'll just know that, okay, something is coming. And sometimes it's not even about the response. It's not even about what the advice, because you already know the answers to what you're ranting about, but you just want to get something off your chest. You want to release it back. Now, why am I talking specifically to the Gen Z? Scientifically proven, because of the fact that they were raised in the era of technology. As technology was booming, they were raised. And parents were overwhelmed and they just shoved devices into their hands. Many late millennials and Gen Zs do not, and I say this as a matter of fact, I'm not saying this as an insult or anything like that. No, this is fact. Many Gen Zs and late millennials do not know how to form quality relationships, to maintain relationships, because they need a lot of things through devices. These are scientific facts. These are statistics, right? They've done a lot of relationship through devices. So they put on their best selves because that's their default. They don't know how to be as real as they can. But that is what has happened. I dare say that from today, if you make it a point of duty to have genuine friends. I have many mentees, and the first issues they have is, I don't want to make friends. Friends are stressful. Friends will betray you. I'm not joking. If you speak to people from their 30s, early 30s and under, it's a general thing. They are done. They're already burnt out when it comes to relationships. But the problem is you can't be a parent and not have relations and people that you rely on. You will just see, it will overwhelm you. So I want to beg you, go down and ask God to give you a support system. Beg Him. Even in the Bible, we're talking godly parenting here. We can begin to tell you all the Bible verses everywhere in the Bible. It's community. Jesus grew up in community. He went for cousins' weddings. He participated in meal times. He ate meals in all his disciples, in his different disciples' houses. That's community, right? He went to the temple and felt so safe in the temple. He left his parents. Now, has anybody really analyzed it that it took them 3 days to find Jesus? That means, first of all, the parents assumed he was with some cousins and coming at the back. Then they moved and they now realized, where is Jesus? Jesus is not here. Then they now had to go back. And meanwhile, Jesus felt very comfortable in the temple. It was, my father's house with the older people. 3 days, that means somebody was giving him food. That means he was finding where to change his clothes, or at least to freshen up. Please tell me, is that not the epitome of community?
It definitely
That's community. Where a 12-year-old feels safe enough to just stay with the elders because he knows that everybody here, now my papa, now my grandpa, now my uncle, now my brother, and my auntie. But we can't. Can you imagine that happening in this era? It's going to be almost impossible or hard. And when you not even find that child, what you will do to that child? You probably lock the child up for the next 1 month.
Totally grounded.
Yeah. And so, parents, Gen X or millennial or Gen Z or Gen whatever you call yourselves.
If you know something,
yeah.
Whilst we want to look at the millennials, the late millennials, and the Gen Zs, again, we as parents have to create that environment where it's not so difficult to cultivate relationships, friendships.
Yes. Yes.
You need to cultivate that because there was a time, I think about 10 years ago or more, can't remember, somebody was talking and I told the person, when last did you let your child go downstairs to play? And the person was like, play, where will he play? The compound is full of cars and neighbors' cars and all that. I said, okay.
Let the child go down.
I said, let the child go down, you know. All right, I said, we live in Sulere, a stadium, 2 stadiums for that, a stadium for that matter. Why don't you take your child to the national stadium or children to the national stadium? We nurture our children in brick and mortar.
Yeah.
That's where we nurture. And because these children, and that's why when you go to church, I'm derailing, because the things keep coming to me. If you go to church and you see children run wild, please don't blame them. They're expressing their
from
freedom.
prison.
Yeah.
They've been released from prison.
Almost like if they've been caged.
They have been caged. Sunday is Freedom Day. So when they come into that church, they are just everywhere.
Freedom. Big face.
So that's why when I talk to parents, I let them understand you can't, because there are things that are values. You're cultivating values at the same time you're cultivating vices.
Yes.
Unknowingly. I said, 1 minute you can't want your child to be quiet and the same time want the child to be noisy. You're confusing that child. So you need to find out what the child is. What the child wants or what do you want from your child and focus on that. If you want a quiet child, nurture a quiet child. If you want a noisy child, focus on the child being noisy. If you want in between, you have to create that environment of in between. And life is in betweens. So there are values we create, and at the same time, in creating those values, we are creating vices. And I said it's not going to work. It won't work. 1 minute, and that's why once they finish secondary school and there's that gap between secondary school and university, look at your child. There are some things the child is busy dropping. Not because he wants to drop them, but because he doesn't see the necessity of the other one. A typical example is this. All through a child's step from kindergarten to secondary school, especially if you have children who go to school from home, once they stop going to school, when they wake up, the first thing they will never do is to have their bath. Because bath is synonymous to, let me tell you, bath is synonymous to wake up, all right. Wake up, have your bath, and go out. He's not going out, so he doesn't see why he should have his bath.
Especially the young men.
Oh my goodness, you don't want to know. When a parent brought that thing to me and I thought through, and I was speaking to the boy, he said, well, Auntie, all this while I've been waking up, having my bath and going out. I'm not going anywhere, so I don't have to have my bath. I said,
I know this
triggered something.
Their brain is moving 10 miles an hour and a minute.
They already know what's up.
I have never thought of it until that boy told me that thing. And I started noticing when every parent is complaining about the child not having his blah, 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 blah. And even worse with the boarding schools, those who go to boarding school, because their life is so regimented that when they come, all they want to do is to be free.
And just rest.
Yes.
Rest from the rules.
Sleep.
Sorry, I have deviated from it takes a village. Let me leave you people, please.
It's all right. Thank you so much, Chinelo. We really do appreciate your insights. You see, I told you that once she joins us, that there will be many things to hear from her. Thank you so much. Yeah. So Jumoke, we're going back to you. Thank you so much, Chinelo. We really do appreciate it. So tell me, um, the last few words you have, because we've been here for about an hour, you know, last few words you have about, this concept of village. We've talked exhaustively about it, but
Yes, we
just
have.
to hear from you. And I've put it in the group for those who have questions. If you have any questions, please just send them in. And for those in the
Okay.
if you're watching this later on YouTube and you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll get them. We'll get to them. Like we said, we're here to support parents. Everybody's going through something. Even we who are here, we're going through something. There's no perfect child. There's no perfect parent. So there will always be need for support, even if it's a listening ear. And so
Yeah.
please, if you have, at the time of this recording, if you have questions, send them to our DMs, send it to, or post it in the comments, whether on YouTube or on Instagram, or just click the link in our bio and reach out to our community and join our community, and let's have some conversations. So Jumoke, last few words.
Last few words. Okay, but I'll just say it again. It takes a village to build, to develop or to build a child. And you know something, one major thing I want parents to remember is that a community actually teaches a child to actually give back. So if you
Yes.
have a child who is in a good community or in a society, they would always want to come back to give back. Okay, because we've seen what giving is, as they say, much is given, much is expected.
What is
So it's
expected?
important that
True.
when you want a rounded child, if you want a rounded child, it's just important that you expose them to community, because children observe. They observe more than more than what you say or what you speak to them. So you put them in the
Very, very
right
true.
community, they will thrive. They will
Very true.
thrive in the right community. They will give
Very,
back. They will
very
have better relationship with people. They'll be able to develop an identity with themselves, and they'll know where they belong to. So it makes them better. They are more rounded. I tell people that you would know a child who maybe the mother or the parents isolated them, so they barely had relationships, and you will know the children where they were very free. They had friends, they grew up in a
very, very,
community.
very true.
You will see that their relationship skills is different.
Yes.
They will have better interpersonal relationship skills, and they'll be healthy. They'll grow up healthier. It will be easier for them to give back, to their community, and they won't think it's strange.
Yeah.
So it's just
And their
important.
leadership skills are excellent.
Yes, 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 and that's one of the things. It helps to build their interdependence. Also, they won't be so dependent on you at every point in time, and also build
No.
their leadership skills. So I believe that it is. If it's going to be a debate, I'll say this is it's important that you indeed
With these few
you
points
have
of
a healthy
ours,
community.
we hope
They are this point of
that
ours.
we hope that we have convinced you and not confused
I'm
you
not
that it
confused you.
definitely takes a village to raise wholesome children.
It does. It does. It
It does.
does. It does. Yeah, in Nigeria we
Yeah.
fear, not even Nigeria, around the world, there's a lot of fear and suspicion. Maybe just like Chinelu said, a lot of fear and suspicion. But I remember you said something in the book that I just want to reiterate again before we go. It was very impactful. You said something. Sorry, just 1 second. I just want to quickly read it out because I think it's important that I just say it word for word. Okay. Yes, I'm there. It says without it says parents need to be deliberate about identifying and cultivating a support system for their family. We also need to remember that support is a two-way street. So it's not just you support, you can also receive, you can also open your arms to other people. And it said something, it said, let's offer support when we can without waiting to be asked. However, this is the part I was very particular about. We must respect the needs of the person we are aiding and reserve any judgment we may have. Because you see some people can be judgmental. Oh, your child is this. The fact that the child does not act exactly like you would want does not mean that the child is a bad child. So again, you have to reserve from being judgmental. I really wanted to ensure we reiterated on that one, because you see, there's a lot of people always say, my child is good, your child is the bad one. No, it should be balanced. Every
mm,
child
mm,
is best to be able to know how to bring out the best from each child and not be judgmental. Reserve your judgments. Okay, speak nicely and encourage it to the child, and you have a better child in the future. Thank you. And never
mm,
give up on your child. It might just be a community that will make the change. I'll just give you a brief story of something I heard recently. And the
mm,
lady said she spoke to the child. So the child was meant to have write like GCSE, and she spoke to the parent. The parent said, "Oh, she's giving up on the child." And she said, "No, you can't give up on your child. Bring the child." It was like a church community environment, and she
mm,
took up that child and started teaching the child for free.
mm.
And that child right now is an
Aeronautical,
aeronautic engineer. Yeah, aeronautic
uh,
engineer. And what happened? The difference is because a parent in a community decided to pay attention to that child and
mm,
believed that the child can make a difference, and the child
mm,
made a difference, and
mm,
encouraged the mother not to give up on that child. So the
mm,
mother had to go back and say, "It's true, I will not give up on that child."
mm,
So it's the support that everyone needs. Never
mm.
give up on your child. Put your
Yeah,
child in the right community, and most likely you will not regret it.
that's it.
Thank you.
At this point,
Thanks.
let's just say grace and be going. That's the best way to end. Parents, your responsibility is to raise your child in the right community. That's the summary of everything we're saying here. You are the one to build that community for your children. Yes, Chinelo said, no child is born bad. You
No
parents,
child
it
is born
is
bad.
your responsibility to curate a wholesome community for your child to live, to grow up in, so that you will have that wholesome child. That child that can balance in the CEO's office, but at the same time can sit down and on the floor and eat
Yeah.
amala wherever. My next door
Mm.
neighbor is a top-notch cardiologist in the United States. He dines with governors. He treats the top, that's best of the best, right? So he lives opposite us. He relocated to the US when he was about 18 or so, so he's more or less an American. The first time this man
Mm.
came into my house, his wife was the one who had been coming and going, and he had heard all sorts. So he came to see my husband that day to finally meet his neighbor. And he met my husband on the floor. My husband was watching match and he was on the floor eating egusi soup. And the man just said,
Mm.
please bring water for me. There and then, put his hand inside this water and said, Oga, oh yeah, let's continue eating. I said, Oga, let me bring you. He said, no, this one, no, on the floor. He sat on the floor. I started eating food with my husband. I said, okay, this case is closed. I know that this relationship, I'm just going to be a third party in that relationship. And exactly what happened. This man,
Mm.
he lives, his compound in the US, not here in Nigeria, his compound in the US is like 2 football fields.
Wow.
That's the kind of money he has. But he has no heirs whatsoever. None. Absolutely none. And when I see
Mm.
him, I say, I want my children to have this kind of outlook on life. Of course, he's a man with his flaws, but he has so many points of value. Very
Mm.
normal somebody. Unless they tell you who he is, you
Mm.
can never imagine that's who he is. He would just wear a t-shirt and his face cap. I carry it back. He's like a Jerry. The only difference is that he has gray hair. But in terms of his life approach, very free. And
Mm.
see, parents, we want to raise children who are free. The world is difficult as it is. It's difficult enough. Let's give our children the best possible opportunities to get the best out of life. And on that
Yes.
note, we've come to the end of our session today. I'm only going to spend 2 minutes reminding you all, this is the Godly Parenting Summit group. We have a WhatsApp community. If you want to join the community, click the link in the bio. You will see join our mailing list and WhatsApp community and join us there. At the same time, 27th of September of April, that's in 2 Saturdays from now, we're starting our Godly Parents Summit. That's an annual program. It's power packed. If you check in the post on our page, you will see where all our speakers, we have amazing speakers. It's going to run 6 Saturdays from 4:30 from 4 to 5:30. Sorry, and trust me, is amazing. We started it last year. We had an amazing time. We, the speakers, we were blessed. The participants were blessed. We had participants from every continent in this world. Yes, I am bold to say that. For every continent in this world, we had a participant come in. And this year, we hope to do it bigger and better. And guess what? The best part, everything free of charge. No fee. So please, just bring yourself, a little of your data and your time. That's all we need from you. And come and be blessed. Thank you. We appreciate you all. Tell your friends to tell their friends, their sisters, their brothers, those who are parents to be. Yes, sorry?
You didn't tell them that they need to register.
Oh, I'm coming there. You need to register. To join the Godly Parenting community, you need to register. To participate, you also need to register. Just go to the top of our page. Just click the link. Everything you need to know is there. Very easy, no stress, free of charge. For those who want an elevated experience, you can pay a token sum of 20,000 naira. Then you get to see, you see those speakers that you're seeing there. For 6 weeks, they will be at your beck and call. And trust me, that alone, I don't even want to tell you how much that costs.